Don't scroll. If you live in the United States or you're even thinking about making the US your home, the next few minutes could be the difference between a smooth approval and a painful delay. One memo you've never seen can freeze your work permit. One missed document can push your green card months back, and one wrong move at your door could change everything. If you think that sounds dramatic, good, because too many people learn this the hard way. Type freedom now in the chat. Tell me where you're joining from and stay with me to the end so you don't become someone else's cautionary tale. Welcome in, friends. I'm live from the US, and tonight we're going to talk about what's actually happening with immigration right now and what it means for you if your case is pending or you're about to file. This is for you if you've got a work permit renewal hanging in the balance, a green card stuck in background checks, a naturalization interview that keeps getting pushed, or an advanced parole you're afraid to use. And if you're from one of those countries that gets extra vetting, or you've heard the phrase adjudication hold, this is especially important for you. We're going to cut through the noise, build a real plan, and make sure you walk away with clarity, not anxiety. Drop your city and your case type in the comments. EAD, I-485, N-400, I-130, I-140, I-131. So this stays interactive. And yes, hit like, hit subscribe because we do this consistently. And every time I go live, you'll get a heads up. Let me set the table. Immigration in the US is not just forms and fingerprints. It's policy, funding, enforcement priorities, and court timelines colliding in real time. Sometimes the federal government tightens coordination with local jails and agencies. Sometimes local leaders push back and say, "Not in our city." Sometimes Congress fights over Department of Homeland Security funding. And the to-go-where trickles down into staffing, overtime, and processing speed. Sometimes litigation forces an agency to change course, and sometimes it takes months to see it on the ground. So if you're staring at your case status page and seeing the same message for weeks, I want you to understand why. Staying passive is not a strategy. The system rewards people who are organized, responsive, and proactive. That's what we're going to turn you into tonight. First, a reality check for anyone whose application could be impacted by extra vetting or an adjudication pause. If you're from a country on a heightened screening list or under travel restrictions, you may have noticed longer waits for work permits, green card decisions, or naturalization interviews. That doesn't necessarily mean you did anything wrong. It might mean additional security checks. It might mean an internal policy memo instructing officers to hold certain cases while they review criteria. It might mean nothing more than a service center being swamped. But here's the part most people miss. Patience without a paper trail is just waiting. Patience with a documented record of everything you've done becomes leverage. That leverage matters if you need help from a congressional office, the ombudsman, or in some cases, collective legal action designed to force movement on pause cases. So what do you do right now? You build the kind of case file that makes a stranger, an officer, a staffer, a judge say, "Wow, this person is organized." Open your phone's notes app and write this down. Tonight, you're going to create two folders, one digital and one physical. Digital goes into your cloud of choice. Inside that, you create subfolders labeled receipts, notices, evidence, RF, attorney filings, status, screenshots, expedite, medicals, travel, and correspondence. The physical folder mirrors the digital one as much as possible. On the very front of the physical folder, tape a single sheet of paper that you will call your timeline. On that one sheet, you'll list in chronological order every important event in your case. The day you filed, the day you received your receipt notice, biometric states, any RF and when you responded, any interviews, any medical exams, any service requests, any congressional inquiries. Keep it to one page. When someone asks, "So, what's the history here?" you slide that page over and they instantly understand your entire journey. Now that your skeleton is built, let's put some muscle on it. Once a month, pick a date you'll remember. You log into your USCIS account and take a screenshot of the current status for every pending application. Rename those screenshots with the date and the form number. If you ever call USCIS, you write down the service request number, the rep's name if they give it, and the date. If you submit an e-request because you're outside normal processing times, save the confirmation page and the confirmation email. If you email your attorney or get an email from them, save a PDF of the thread into correspondence. If you reach out to your senator or representative's office for help, save their acknowledgement and any follow-up timeline they provide. This is how you turn a nightmare of scattered emails into a laser-focused proof of progress file. It makes your future self breathe easier, and it makes any third party far more willing to step in on your behalf because you're saving them time. Let's talk about expedites because I know a lot of you are wondering if you should try. An expedite request is not a magic wand, but it can work if you meet the criteria and you present it properly. Generally, you're looking at categories like severe financial loss to a company or person, urgent humanitarian reasons, nonprofit cultural or social interest, national interest, or clear USCIS error. If you can't check one of those boxes with actual evidence, don't waste your one good shot. But if you can, then you craft a crisp one-page cover letter that says right up top your receipt number, what benefit you're seeking to expedite what your basis is, and a bulletproof summary of the evidence you're attaching. If it's financial loss, you include employer letters that explain precisely what is at risk, payroll records, bank statements showing the effect, and any documentation about project deadlines or contracts. If it's medical or humanitarian, you get detailed, recent letters from healthcare providers, appointment schedules, treatment plans, and documentation showing why timing is critical. If kids are involved, you add school letters or individualized education plan notes to show impact. If it's a USCIS error, you neatly highlight the discrepancy with copies of what they got wrong. Recent evidence carries more weight than something from last year. Don't write a novel. Write clearly with dates and facts, and let your exhibits do the heavy lifting. And remember, even the best expedite is discretionary, so you still keep your long game intact. Now, let's address the images that keep people up at night. Videos of heavily armed teams at someone's door. Social posts claiming that ICE can break in with any piece of paper. Sensational clips designed to trigger fear. Fear is a natural response to confusing power, but your best counter is knowledge and a plan. If officers show up at your home, you have the right to ask to see a warrant signed by a judge. Administrative forms are not the same thing as a judicial warrant. You can say through the door calmly and clearly, "I do not consent to entry." Do you have a warrant signed by a judge? Please slide it under the door. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to speak to an attorney. You are not required to sign anything you don't understand. You should never physically resist. You should never lie. You should stay calm and keep your voice even. And you should have already set up a family plan so that if something unexpected happens, the people you love are not scrambling. That family plan is not an admission of guilt or a prediction of doom. It's simply responsible. So let's build that plan. If you have kids, call their school or childcare provider tomorrow and make sure the authorized pickup list is up to date. Prepare a simple letter authorizing a trusted adult to handle pickup in an emergency. Talk to a family law attorney about temporary guardianship paperwork if that would give you peace of mind. In many states, there are straightforward ways to put something in place just in case. Make copies of birth certificates, social security cards, health insurance cards, and any special medical instructions. Put a week's worth of essential medications in a labeled pouch you can grab quickly. Create a very small go bag that lives in one place in your home. Some cash, copies of critical documents, a list of emergency contacts with phone numbers and emails, and a simple instruction sheet for whoever might be stepping in to help. Pick a code word for your family, like Blue Folder, that simply means call the plan. Don't panic. None of this is about living in fear. It's about removing chaos from your life so your energy can go to work, family, and your case. If you're thinking about traveling or even self-departing, Stop and get legal advice before you move. That's not me being dramatic. That's basic risk management. Depending on your history, leaving the US could trigger 3 or 10-year bars, or it could complicate a pending application in ways you didn't expect. Advance parole can be a powerful tool, but it's not a 100% guarantee of re-entry for every person in every situation. Talk to a licensed attorney who can look at your exact facts, dates of entry and exit, prior orders, any arrests or citations, any misstatements, your current application type, and give you a tailored risk assessment. A 30-minute consultation can save you from a decision you can't easily reverse. I want to talk directly to those of you dealing with extra vetting or an adjudication hold because of your nationality or because your category is under special review. Number 1, do not panic. Number 2, do not go silent. Number 3, do not rely on rumors or random social media threads. You're going to do 3 things. First, perfect your documentation as we discussed. Second, learn the escalation ladder. If your case is genuinely outside posted processing times, you file an e-request. If nothing happens, you consider a respectful, organized inquiry through your senator or representative's constituent services team. Again, your one-page timeline and your neatly labeled packet will make their jobs easier. And when you make a staffer's life easier, they actually help you. If that doesn't break the logjam and your case fits the criteria, you consider an ombudsman request with a clear summary and your exhibits. If after that, you still see no movement and your situation matches a pattern where policy, not your individual facts, is holding things up, that's when some people explore litigation paths with counsel, either an individual action or in the right circumstances. A multi-plaintiff lawsuit challenging a specific agency policy that's causing harm. That last part is not for everyone. It's not a guarantee, and it requires careful screening, but it exists for a reason. Sometimes agencies need the courts to remind them to do what the law already requires. If you're in employment-based categories, I want you to get your work-life documents in order. Keep a clean folder with your I-140 approval or receipt, your perm history if applicable, your job description, your offer letter or employment verification letters, and recent pay-ubs. If your employer can write a letter describing specific harm, if your EAD is delayed, lost projects, penalties, missed start dates, get that drafted now so you're not asking when it's already urgent. If you're self-employed, document your contracts, invoices, bank statements, client letters, and proof that you're running a legitimate business with tax compliance. If you ever need to go the expedite route or simply reinforce your case's credibility, this file becomes your foundation. If you're in family-based categories, especially marriage-based, remember that bona fides are not a one-time submission. Life keeps happening. Update your file with joint leases or mortgage statements, updated joint bank statements, joint tax returns, car insurance with both names, health insurance showing both covered, new photos with date and location info, recent tickets or travel itineraries, and credible affidavit from friends and family who can speak to your real shared life. If you're a conditional resident heading toward the I-751, start building that packet well in advance of the filing window. If you're filing N-400 and you're still within the conditional period, be ready to show continuity. If you've had a separation, a move, or any hiccup, talk to counsel about how to frame it honestly and clearly. If you're a student on F1 OPT or STEM OPT, treat your designated school official like a critical ally. Keep your service info current, save emails with your DSO, update address and employer changes immediately, and keep a tidy updated I-983 training plan if you're on STEM OPT. Save pay stubs and proof of actual work for change of status to H-1B or other categories. Make yourself a calendar of important dates so you don't miss windows. A single missed update can cause a domino effect you don't want. If you're pursuing asylum or you're in removal proceedings, organization is your lifeline. Keep a current country conditions file with key reports and updates. Keep therapy or counseling letters if trauma is part of your story. Track your EAD timelines carefully so you renew early enough to stay employed without gaps. Practice your narrative with a trusted advisor so that your statement is consistent, detailed, and true. Never make anything up. Credibility is everything. If you're approaching naturalization, start tracking your continuous residence and physical presence now, not the week before you file. If you had long trips, calculate days carefully. If you have tax balances, get on a payment plan and document it. If you have traffic tickets or misdemeanors, gather certified court dispositions and be prepared to explain exactly what happened and what you learned. Study for civics in small daily bites and memorize your current local leaders' names because those can change. Let's clear the fog around scams and false promises. If someone says, "I can fix your case in 30 days, guaranteed," that's a red flag. If someone demands cash with no written agreement, walk away. Verify that the person helping you is licensed. Ask for everything in writing. Understand exactly what they will do and what they won't do. Good professionals tell you the risks, timelines, and probabilities. They don't sugarcoat, and they don't promise outcomes they can't control. You deserve honesty because you're making life decisions based on what you're told. Demand transparency. Now, how do you keep your sanity while you're doing all this? Build micro habits. I call it your immigration admin hour. Once a week, maybe Sunday evening, you sit down for 20 minutes. You update your timeline. You file any new emails into the right digital subfolder. You rename new items with a consistent format, like 2026 0201 I-765 receipt, ABC23 status screenshot. You note any approaching deadlines. You send one check-in email if needed. That's it. No doom scrolling. No calling USCIS every day. Just consistent light touch maintenance. Pair that with an accountability buddy. Text them after your admin hour. Updated timeline. Saved 2 letters. Took status screenshot. It sounds tiny. It changes everything. Civic life matters here too. The United States is a representative republic. That means you have people in office whose job is to hear from you and try to help when you hit a bureaucratic wall. If your representative never hears from constituents like you, they won't prioritize issues like processing backlogs, proportional funding, or oversight that prevents agencies from overreaching. So, yes, respectfully reach out. Keep your request clear and complete. Include your one-page timeline, your receipt numbers, and a short hardship statement. A single page that explains who you are, what's pending, how long it's been pending, and what the delay is costing you or your family. You're not asking for special treatment. You're asking for accountability. Let's talk about your hardship statement because most people either skip it or write something so vague it doesn't help. Here's what you include, and you keep it to one page. You write your name, your receipt number, and the benefit you're seeking. You state the date you filed and any significant steps taken since. You explain the real-world impact. Your job is at risk without an EAD renewal by a certain date. Your child services are interrupted. Your medical treatment requires travel authorization. Your spouse is shouldering a financial burden that is unsustainable. You attach only the most relevant support documents. You write like a professional adult, not like a victim. You close with a direct, respectful ask. I'm seeking assistance to help ensure my case is adjudicated within a reasonable timeframe. That's it. No hyperbole, just facts. Now, a word about enforcement climate because I know that's on people's minds. You may see news cycles about increases in coordination between federal and local agencies, debates about data sharing, and questions about what access federal officers should have in local jails. You may see cities draw lines. You may see the federal side push back. These ES and flows can shape where and how enforcement is visible. Expect waves. Expect demonstrations and counter messages. The important thing is not to let a headline send you into paralysis. Anchor yourself in what you control. Your documents, your plan, your rights education, your community connections, and your communication with your representatives. For those who are ready to hear it, yes, sometimes the right move for a group of similarly situated applicants is to band together in a multi-plaintiff legal action challenging a specific agency policy, like a sweeping adjudication pause that affects people solely because of nationality or category, rather than individual facts. This is not a class action. This kind of case typically helps only the plaintiffs who are named in the lawsuit. It's not a universal fix. It's also not free. There's usually a screening process to make sure you're eligible physically in the U.S., a qualifying application pending with USCIS from one of the impacted countries or categories identified in the policy, and not already suing on the same application elsewhere. If you're accepted, you'll be asked to sign a fee agreement, upload your receipt notices, and provide your timeline and hardship statement. The goal is to ask a court to order the agency to resume adjudication, or at least to stop applying an unlawful policy to you. There are no guarantees, but sometimes, if done carefully and quickly, it's the pressure that forces movement or clarity. If that pathway interests you, look for firms that are transparent, that give you a clear FAQ, that don't make wild promises, and that tell you upfront what's included and what's not. And always remember, joining a group lawsuit against a policy does not mean that firm is your attorney for every issue in your case. The scope is limited. If you need individualized help, book a separate consultation. I want to give you a door script you can practice so you don't freeze if something unexpected happens. You hear a knock, you take a breath, you look through the peephole or camera. Through the closed door in a calm voice, you say, "Good evening. Do you have a warrant signed by a judge?" If they say yes, you ask them to slide it under the door so you can review it. If they don't, you say, "I do not consent to entry. I want to speak to my attorney." You say, "I do not consent." Once clearly, you do not argue. You do not open the door. You text your emergency contact your code word. You put your plan into motion. If you're at work and officials come in, you stay calm and you let your HR handle communication. If anyone asks you questions and you are unsure, you politely ask to speak to your attorney before answering. The calm, prepared person is always safer than the panicked, improvising person. What about traveling on advance parole while your adjustment is pending? Again, case by case. For some people, it's straightforward and uneventful. For others, history or category complicates the picture. If you do travel, carry copies of your advance parole, your receipt notices, and any relevant medical or family documentation if the trip has a humanitarian purpose. Keep your answers at the border brief and honest. Never volunteer extra details that weren't asked. If you are sent to secondary inspection, that's a process, not an accusation. Let the process happen. Don't panic. If there's a question you can't answer confidently, it's okay to ask for clarification. Let's zoom out and talk about your digital safety, because scammers evolve as fast as policy does. If someone calls you claiming to be from immigration and demands payment, hang up. USCIS does not call you to demand money or threaten immediate deportation if you don't pay. Payments go through official channels. If you get an email with links, check the sender and hover over links before clicking. Bookmark official websites. Set up USPS informed delivery so you can see what government mail is on the way. Create email filters so anything with USCIS, your receipt number or case status gets flagged and never lost in your promotions tab. I want you to feel the power of small wins. Tonight after this live, spend 30 minutes and do 3 things. Create your digital folder and your physical file. Write your one-page timeline. Take a current screenshot of your case status and rename it with today's date. That's it. Tomorrow, pick one pain point and take one step. Update your child's pickup authorization, request a letter from your employer, or schedule a consultation to get tailored advice. The next day, identify whether your case is outside posted processing times. If it is, draft your e-request with the relevant receipt number at hand. 3 days, 3 actions, and you will feel the difference in your body. Now, because this is a community, I want to hear from you. Type freedom now and tell me your city and what step you're taking tonight. If you've been stuck and you feel like your case has fallen into a black hole, say, "I'm in." So I know I should cover escalation paths in more detail on the next live. If a collective legal action against a policy-driven adjudication hold applies to you, and you want to explore it, watch the links in the description for vetted resources. When we announce onboarding windows for a multiplift filing, they move quickly because timing matters. Read the FAQs carefully. Prepare your documents so you can complete your eligibility form without scrambling. And if you're not sure whether that's right for you, that's fine. Book a standard strategy session instead and get a personalized roadmap. I'm going to say this clearly because someone needs to hear it. Being organized is not the same as being lucky, and it beats luck every single time. The system notices professionalism. Officers notice clean, complete files. Staffers notice when you make their job easier. Judges notice when you bring facts, not drama. You might not control the pace of the machine, but you control the quality of what you put into it and the persistence with which you follow through. That's your edge. That's how you turn pending into approved. Before we wrap, a quick myth check without the fluff. No news is not automatically bad news. It often means you're in the line with everyone else. No, your friend's 2-month approval doesn't mean yours is broken. Different categories, different centers, different background checks. No, hiring a lawyer doesn't guarantee an outcome. Nobody can guarantee outcomes, but a good lawyer reduces mistakes, organizes your story, and knows how and when to escalate. No, moving homes doesn't ruin a case. As long as you update your address properly using the correct channels and keep proof, you're fine. No, advanced parole isn't a get-out-of-jail-free card, but it's not a trap either. It's a tool. Use it wisely with advice. Here's your closing visualization. 2 months from now, you've kept your weekly admin hour. Your timeline is current, and your documents are neatly organized. Your kid's school has updated pickup permissions. Your employer has a letter ready on letterhead outlining how essential your role is. You've got your hardship statement in a clean professional paragraph that tells the truth without begging. Your congressional office knows your name because you reached out respectfully with a complete packet, not a desperate voicemail. If an RF hits, you don't panic. You already have the evidence staged. If a scary clip trends on social media, you don't spiral. You verify. You decide if any action is needed, and you get on with your day. That's control. That's confidence. That's you. If this helped you, say freedom now in the chat and tell me what part clicked. If you need one-on-one help, use the link in the description to schedule a focused strategy session with a licensed professional who can look at your exact facts. If you think you might qualify for a collective legal action aimed at forcing adjudication to resume on paused cases tied to a specific policy, read the info carefully, get your receipts and timeline ready, and watch for onboarding announcements. And if you're just here to learn and stay prepared, you're my people. Hit subscribe, share this with someone who needs it, and come back for the next live. This is general information, not legal advice. Your case is unique. So, always get guidance from someone qualified and licensed in the US. I'm proud of you for investing in your future tonight. You are not powerless. You are not alone. And you have more control than you think when you build a plan and execute it week by week. Stay informed. Stay organized. Protect your rights with calm confidence and keep your head up. I'll see you on the next live. Until then, take care, stay safe, and remember, you've got this freedom.